Hi everyone, I wanted to walk you through what the results and the spreadsheet form of the responses in a Google form look like. So you can see that I'm in this Twitter challenge Google form that I made for some professional development we wanted people to do on their own during November and December of this past year. We're going to start a new one, so if you're interested, let me know and I can post that in the stream if you want to do it yourself. But today I want to show you about what responses look like. So you can see this is the question part. So if I were still building this, I would go into the question portion and I can change all the things just like we talked about in class. But if I go up here to the responses, this is where I'm going to see the data that the people that I sent the form to generate for me. So this is the stuff I want to see. So you can see immediately that there's the summary part. And this is what I was talking about a little bit in class. So all by itself, it generates these bar graphs based on the objective questions. So again, there's that difference between an objective question and a subjective question. If it's open-ended, people can write whatever they want, and those responses are just going to stack. They're not going to make any sort of visualizations like this. They show up as bar graphs sometimes. They also show up as pie charts. And I'm a big fan of the pie charts, especially if you're using it with students. So you can see that this automatically happens. And this is a great conversation you can have with your kids about why the class is answering a certain way or why they think a certain way. And so those can really lead to a lot of deeper learning. You'll notice over here that you can copy this chart. So if you're doing a slide deck or if you're doing a smartboard deck or something, you can copy this chart right out of here and put it into there so that it's easier for you to share with your students. You'll notice that these are what the open-ended questions look like, so it's a little bit different. And sometimes that can be a really helpful conversation, and it's oftentimes helpful for you as the teacher to look through as well. But other times, I think these tend to work a little bit better because they're a little more visual. The other thing I wanted to show you, so that's the summary. This is the individual. So this shows me how each individual person completed this form. So if this is a case where you need to share this with parents or you want to bring this to your grade level team or something like that, you can print this. You could also screen capture this. Remember we talked about screen capturing. So this would be how each individual student submitted the form. So those are two ways that you can look at the responses, and there's one more way. Before we get to that, I want to show you how you can turn off responses. So if you make a form and you only want to give your students until Friday at 3 o'clock to complete the form, see this switch right here where it says accepting responses? If I click this, it's going to put a red bar at the top, and that means it's no longer accepting responses. I can customize this. So if I want to say, I'm no longer accepting responses, but if you were absent, come see Mrs. Murphy and we can work out a plan or something like that, you can customize this message here. So that's something to keep in mind. I'm going to turn that back on because I don't really care if it's like that. So on a new form, you'll see this little button right here, and this is how you make the new sheet. So Google Sheet is like an Excel spreadsheet. It's just online, does most of the same things, including formulas and all that other mess. You can make some changes to it here. So if you wanted to unlink your form to a specific spreadsheet and then make a new one, you can do this here. You can print all the responses in here. And this one can be really helpful. So deleting all the responses. So if I'm in this spreadsheet here and I open this up, you can see all my responses are in a spreadsheet, and this can be really helpful if you have, so I taught high school, and oftentimes I had about 160 students that I was teaching at any given time. So in here, I can sort things. So you see this little drop down here? I can sort A to Z. I can also create filters with this button over here, the one that looks sort of like a martini glass. That makes filters. So it makes it a lot easier for me to sort things. So I might have a question, what class period are you? So if I only wanted to see results from 5th and 6th period, I would create a filter, and then I could see all the results from my students that way. So this is another way that you can look at the data, and this way is less visual a lot of the time, but it can be a lot more powerful depending on what you're doing with it. Again, we talked about downloading, so I can download as a CSV or this comma separated values. So that can be really helpful for downloading and then uploading these scores into things if you want to. So there's a lot that you can do with these. You can also build your own charts here. So you can see this insert chart here. So there's a lot of different things you can do that as well. So you can see there's a ton of resources, there's a ton of support in here. So what I'd like you to do is take a couple minutes and go through your data and see what sort of conclusions you can make or see what's interesting. And then I want you to go to the Google Classroom and answer the questions about the the forms data, okay? If you have questions, please feel free to post them in the feed, and let me know how you're thinking and what's going on with your work. I hope this helps, and I hope you are able to use the data in your form effectively to either make some instructional decisions or to augment your practice.